What's up? My name is Jeff. I'm an addict. Spiritual speaker. I'm super glad I'm here.
That's right.
I'm blown away by this place and by you people. Yeah, I said you people. My home group is the workshop group of Narcotics Anonymous. We meet on Monday nights at 6 p.m. because we're old and we like to sleep. And we study the literature every meeting, one paragraph at a time, and we dissect that shit. And if you're ever in Tulsa, why would you be? On a Monday night, that's where you want to go, the workshop. I have a NA sponsor. He has a AA sponsor. I like to start off with something controversial right off the bat. Just to let you know where we're going. And I am completely stealing that keep your hands and feet inside the bride at all times, Sabrina. That was fucking hilarious. Dana, thank you for Friday night. Thank you. It's funny that I've had a different answer to the question, how did you find us? Or how did we find you? And last night, sitting with a few addicts, it became clear why I was here. And it all came down to one addict. One addict helping another. It was a sort of a gangbang. There were 7 of us helping one another. John, are you a little sore this morning? Yesterday, I was in the Traditions workshop. And there's no story connected to that. I just wanted you to know I was in the Traditions workshop. I'm that spiritual. I walked into the Traditions workshop forgetting that nobody knows me and knows my sense of humor. And I said, I just wanted to see who all the fucking spiritual giants are besides me and this motherfucker. And like 4 people turned around and looked at me like they were shocked and appalled. And I was like, yeah, sometimes there's a newcomer in the room and you got to be fucking careful about what you say. I have, what's crazy is how much better at censorship I've gotten and how still what comes out of my mouth. And, you know, those of you that think speakers have a prepared, I'm sure there's people, I know speakers that have a prepared, like, pitch. That's what they used to call it in LA, a pitch, giving your pitch. I'm like, I'm not selling anything. I have no idea what I'm going to say, so I'll be as surprised as you guys at the end of this. Our literature in More Will Be Revealed says, if a solution isn't practical, it isn't spiritual. And then in the reading, is it Tom? Is that you? Did you read how it works? James. Yeah, Tom, James. Single syllable names are hard for me. Jeff, exactly. We believe that our way is practical, for one addict can best understand and help another addict. That's after this statement about the therapeutic value of one addict helping another. And that's our secret sauce. That's what makes Narcotics Anonymous special, is it comes down to one addict helping another. And if you've got one day clean, you have a message to carry. I want to especially welcome anyone that is coming back from a relapse. Because it is hard as fuck to come back from a relapse. I originally got clean in 1987. My first meeting was the Rocky Mountain Monday night methadone clinic meeting of Narcotics Anonymous. I walked in to my first meeting and I was like, This is exactly what I expected. Shitty wood paneling, really uncomfortable, close together seats. And in that meeting, I said a phrase that changed my life forever. I said, I'm Jeff and I'm an addict. And it was the first time I heard myself say it. I later found out that a woman that was at that meeting, my stepmom had called her about 3 days before, and she said, my stepson's coming to live with us, and I think he's an addict, and I have no idea what to do. This was a woman who I referred to as my stepmonster most of the time. And, you know, that's the gift. That's one of the many gifts that Narcotics Anonymous has given me, is that literature says that everything we know is subject to revision, especially what we know about the truth. And when I am 100% sure that you're an asshole, you go and do something to prove me wrong. Every time. Was it the first time people had told you that you're an asshole when you were reading the traditions? Yeah. I wonder if there's ever been a moment where somebody's like surprised, like, oh, I'm an asshole? What? I kind of feel like by the time you get up to the podium to read the traditions, you probably know you're an asshole. I was conflicted about that all weekend long. You know, this morning I was in the workshop, and the responsibility and recovery workshop, and I love one of those R words, and I really hate one of those other R words. Responsibility, like, used to just follow me around like a sick dog that I couldn't get rid of. The idea of taking responsibility. There's always somebody else trying to get me to take responsibility. And I'm like, it seems like so important to you. Why don't you fucking take responsibility? I'm fine being completely irresponsible. I'm a pro at it. Yeah, I'm so good at fucking up. I've turned it into an art form. You know, and I was clean about 8 years the first time I came to Narcotics Anonymous. And among the many reasons that I relapsed, including making meeting attendance no longer a priority, and believing my own bullshit, and actually attending a workshop, I think Sabrina was talking about last night, one-on-one, where they talk about everything is empty and meaningless. And so I was like, I convinced myself that probably I'm not an addict, if I was just young and inexperienced, you know. I got clean when I was 20 years old. I wasn't even old enough to drink legally, and I was already done. And then I had 8 years to, like, let my disease work on me. We used to say, while you're in here meeting, your disease is out there in the parking lot doing push-ups. First off, I guarantee you my disease does not do push-ups. No way. But the thing is, my disease was in there with me. Our disease is in there with us, learning the language of recovery. Learning new vocabulary words to fucking trick us with. I said this morning to the lady who was crossing off our names at the meal thing, I said, if you need help justifying anything horrible, let me know. I'm a pro at it, you know. And it's weird, right? None of those skills I've talked about so far look great on a resume. But that's what qualifies me to be a member of Narcotics Anonymous. That's what qualifies me to carry the message to the addict that still suffers. Is that I have made a complete disaster of my life, both out of recovery and in recovery, multiple times. Burned my life to the ground. And been able to rebuild it through the love of this fellowship. Secure in the love of the fellowship. Been able to do that. It's like it's rebirth, right? It's like the phoenix rising from the ashes. And I always hear that story like the phoenix does it like one time. That's a cycle. It's a continual cycle. You know, and part of growth is about learning what doesn't work and letting that die a natural death. Right? That's what I learned for me what meditation is. It's learning to let my thoughts die a natural death. Because they just come up, man. Like, my brain just fucking brains. Like, it just does its thing. I have thoughts about the thoughts about the thoughts about the thoughts, layered on top of each other. And they come lightning fast. All day long. So, where the quietness lives is in my spirit. That's the thing. That's the gift. That's the gift of experience. If you're new, that might not be part of your experience yet. Stick around. Because I have not done this program to the best of my ability. People say that. I've done this program to the best of my ability. I'm like, cool, for you. I wouldn't know what that's like. I never did anything to the best of my ability. I don't know what the best of my ability is, really, still. I'm still discovering what's possible. I've gone through most of life with one arm tied behind my back, you know, mentally or emotionally speaking. I always have an ace that I don't play yet. I'm not going to play that ace. I might need it later. That's how I did relationships. Gotta just... My superpower is leaving. And so, like, I would never do anything full out. Because then I'm risking something. I started a business for the first time this year. Got an LLC and everything. I pay my sales tax every month so far. Because I have a friend who didn't, and he was in the newspaper, and I don't want to fucking be in the newspaper for that. I have a fairly high-profile job in Tulsa, and so, like, my fuck-ups reflect on my employer. And I care about that today. Like, that matters to me. That does not feel super punk rock. But I do care about that. So I started this business, and I'm seeing a therapist, and in my last session with her, like, I had this realization. The business I started is it's called a sober speakeasy, and it's a bar with no alcohol. And right now we just do pop-up events because I'm still looking for that perfect place, and I'm obsessive about it, of course, as you can imagine. And yeah, it has the word sober in it. So, second controversial thing I've said. And on that table, while I was in my last session, like, I had this realization that business idea is the culmination of my life's work and experience, and it may be exactly what God put me here to do. Like, I've always wondered that. I've heard people say all the time, I know what God put me here to do, right? In the moment, sometimes I know why God brought me to a certain situation. Certainly last night, I know why God brought me to that conversation. But, like, I got it that I know what fulfills me. And there's a crazy kind of bulletproof courage that comes from knowing that. You know, and it's you guys that taught me that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the presence of fear and the willingness to act anyway. You know, I'm always scared. I'm always obsessing. I'm always thinking about what I don't have that I want. Like, there's just this sort of... It's not about me. Marlon Brando said one time, if there was 100 people at a party that love him and he finds out that there's one person there that doesn't like him, he has to leave that party. I can relate. I can really relate. I was talking before about watching my brain while I meditate. And really, that was the beginning. The 11th step was the beginning of me making friends with my mind. Because it's this thing I've carried around my whole life, like a hunchback, that I want to pretend isn't there. That I want to do all sorts of things, wear all sorts of masks to hide that, And yet, it's like a gift from God. The disease of addiction for me is a gift from God. I would not know you people without the disease of addiction, without all of the horrible things that I did to other people, all those mistakes that I made that ended up being like learning experiences, that ended up being something I can share with another addict. All the stuff that I was so ashamed of, that I didn't want to tell anybody, that I finally got the courage to tell one person in the 5th step. And then from that, they're talking about me. They're talking about me right now. I thought he'd be better. Oklahoma, what are you going to do? Like shame is a waste of time. It really is. I used to think I had to hate myself into changing. Like, if I just hate this character defect enough, it'll probably go away. No. There's this process that I used to think went awareness and then action. And one of my predecessors said, nope, there's a step between those two. So it's acceptance. And then, of course, because I'm really smart, I was like, well, if I can accept the character defect, then doesn't that mean that I'm saying it's okay? And why would then I want to get rid of it? It's like I'm not accepting it as okay, I'm accepting it as true. Because like in my head, like if you're talking and I don't agree, I have to say that in my I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. Like I used to say it out loud, and now I do that a lot less. But I still do that in my head. You're wrong, but okay. Okay, you're wrong, but okay. Wasn't it last night that if you're mad, you're wrong? God, Cooper blew me away with that one. It blew him away, and then he got to share it with me, and it blew me away. That's what wisdom is in Narcotics Anonymous. Just repeating cool shit you've heard other people say. I promise that's all I'm doing up here. Not an original thought going. In fact, when I got clean in 1987, they said, Jeff, your brain is good for entertainment purposes only. I was 60 days clean, and I was sharing so good at a meeting. Can you imagine me with that fucking 20-year-old confidence? 60 days clean, just a fucking miracle. I'm such a quick study. So I'm sharing the good shit, whatever, and I pick up a key tag, and at the end of the meeting, that woman that was sitting across from me in my first meeting, that my stepmom had called when she called the helpline, she said, blah, 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 I'm Linda, and I'm not, and then somebody with 60 days shouldn't sound that good. And I thought it was a compliment. I was like, yeah, I've always kind of been good at stuff. It's completely absurd how these two thoughts can live in our head. I'm the coolest motherfucker ever, and I'm a horrible piece of shit that doesn't deserve to live. Earth people don't get that. Yeah. I don't use the phrase normies because I don't think there is one. So I relapsed because I was thinking of alcohol as different from other drugs. And you guys know what that does? It's caused what? a great many addicts to relapse. Me. Yeah. And so then I said, well, I'll just drink. And in AA, they have this test called the Marty Mann test. It's 2 drinks a day for 30 days. And if you can do that, you're not an alcoholic. Well, I proved that I wasn't an alcoholic. Oh, watch me. So at least I got free of AA, right? Like, done with AA, I'm not an alcoholic, did the test. You guys did it. Now, you guys told me about it. I didn't make it up. Not me. It's your program. But I kept saying, like my friends were calling me like worried. Like, hey, man, I heard you're drinking. Yeah, I heard you're using. My AA friends were like worried that I was drinking. They would have been fine if it was California, so they'd have been fine if I was smoking weed. But that's when shit went off the rails. What I would say to them and what I was really saying to me to make it okay when I relapsed was, if it gets bad enough, I know where to go. I'll go back. I tried to sell all my literature at half-price books one day so I could get dope money. They have a lot of basic text there. They don't give you a lot for NA literature. It's amazing how many people have basic text to get rid of at a time when they need money. The market is saturated. What can I say? It's a supply and demand situation. So it got bad enough. The first week I started smoking weed because I was smoking all day, every day. And I'd been smoking Oklahoma ditch weed up until 1987. You guys know there was a pot drought in 86? Somebody in here does. Somebody will live through it. That's how I got on cocaine. I think that was a CIA plot to get us hooked on cocaine. Half of you are believing that. I believe that. 100%. Fucking government. So I relapsed. Drinking was fine. I was living in San Francisco, and I would stop at the grocery store. This is so embarrassing. I would get a baguette, a wheel of cheese, and a bottle of red wine. Like I was living in a Billy Joel song. Go home and open the bottle of wine, and I'm like, oh, I'll just drink it out of this tumbler because it's convenient. I'm fine. It's French stuff. I'm doing French shit here. They let kids drink in the France. They probably let babies smoke. That's a Robin Williams joke. So like I said, it got bad enough. First week I started smoking. And it took me 5 years to get back. And in that 5 years, I got to do a ton of yets. There's a line in our basic text that says, we sought out lower companions. Right? Because I didn't want to be the worst one in the room. And so before I got clean, the first time, I always could find somebody in my using circle that was a little worse off than I was. Well, about 2.5 years into my relapse, we went to score crack. So exciting. And I scored it, and I bought it, and I brought it to the party. And I was watching these two brothers fight over who got the next hit. And I was judging them. You guys are brothers. How dare you? Meanwhile, I've got 3 rocks in my pocket that nobody knows about. And for a minute, while I was in that judgmental space, I thought about that line in our literature. Boy, there is nothing worse than a head full of dope and a fucking head full of NA slogans. Fucking people, man. It said we sought out lower companions, and I looked around the room and I was like, fuck, I'm the lower companion. And you would think that would have been enough right there. It took me a year, two and a half more years. Finally, the thing that did it, it was so weird. I was living in Seattle, and I was participating in a University of Washington marijuana moderation study. They were paying me to talk about, they had this little calendar, and like one of my first sessions, they used a different color highlighter for every drug I had done for like the last 30 days. And man, there's nothing worse than like seeing a rainbow on a calendar that's your fucking using story. Like, because I would have said, I drink a little bit, occasionally I do cocaine or acid or mushrooms or whatever you got. And I smoke weed all day, every day, all the time. Smoke it so much I don't even feel the effects anymore, but I sure as fuck can't stop. I don't think I got high the last year I was using. It was just to maintain. And so I was in the middle of that study, and I had decided I was going to... No, I hadn't decided this yet. My dad was talking to me, and I was giving him advice on life. Dad, you should really get okay with being alone for a while before you get into another relationship, you know, right? We teach what we need to learn, you know? Yeah. And so I said, he said to me, son, I don't know, man, you just seemed happier when you were sober. He doesn't know any better, the language. He's from a different generation. He's from the generation that thought silence was like honor. Not like my Uncle Kenny. I had been tripping acid all night long the night before. And then I remembered at like 4 a.m, I had to take him to go get pants. That's what you do with your great uncle. You take him to get pants. And so we're driving. I'm driving. Should not have been driving. And we're about to go get a burger before the pants. And I like have my door open, and he goes, "Do you want to know what the secret to being a man is?" And I was like, "Yes." You know how like when you're in that tripping stage and everything is like, I can't wait to hear what you're going to say. This is going to be amazing. And he said, the secret to being a man is you have a secret, and you never tell anyone, and you take it to your grave. Killed me. It killed me. Even then, in that fucking clouded state, I knew that was not what my life was going to be about. Because I had already experienced the freedom of telling the truth, you know? So I was just heartbroken. Because that's that generation, man. That's that generation that came back from war and they were like, we got to protect the women from these ugly truths, and so we just keep all this shit inside, and then we die of cancer at 50. You know, and that doesn't have to be our story. You know, I can't believe I'm going to say it again. In the traditions workshop yesterday, we were talking about how like the traditions are like a cultural revolution out there in the world. Like, because what we're doing is we're not just doing the traditions in here. We're out there practicing the traditions in our families and in our workplace. We're making a positive impact on the world. That's what being a responsible, productive member of society is, man. We're making a fucking difference out there. The world is a better place because fucking addicts are in it. The tired old lie. Fuck yes, the tired old lie. Once an addict, always an addict. First off, yes. Once an addict, always an addict. Yeah. But the tired lie is that we do recover. Right. That's the fucking message, man. I have no idea what time it is. Okay, good. So 5 years go by. I'm using. My dad says you were happier when you're sober. I had a bunch of weed left and a ton of really beautiful glass pipes and bongs. Wasn't really ready to get rid of them yet. So I was taking a bubble bath. Yeah, treat yourself. Candles, incense, Ravi Shankar. If you don't know who Ravi Shankar is, check it out. And I had my perfect little pipe. I called it the hammer. And it was a beautiful nug of perfect weed. And it crackled, and I was like, and I exhaled, and it was nothing. And I was like, I'm done. I'm fucking done. I'm not getting high anymore. I don't even enjoy this. I'm done. I went to a meeting the next day. March 4th, 2002. That's my clean date. March 4th is a complete sentence, too. March 4th. Into life. So, I went to a meeting, and I got a sponsor and I started working steps. I went to a few Marijuana Anonymous meetings. Then I heard somebody sharing about working on their fifth step while they were having a glass of wine. I was like, yeah, this is not the place for me. This is not the place for me. And so I came back to Narcotics Anonymous, and I had been attending other fellowships, and I would say the word sober sometimes. And Narcotics Anonymous had gotten really sensitive about that word since I had been here last. And I started being terrified of sharing and saying the wrong thing. So I would invite anyone that's here to consider that maybe language isn't what's divisive, but maybe policing language is more divisive than that. Maybe. Two is enough. I don't think I've ever said that phrase. Two is enough. Maybe with Xanax bars, but... So, I moved to Houston. My mom died in 2004. I was 2 years clean. And I was back in Tulsa, where she lived. I was living in Seattle at the time. And I was with all my using friends. They were, helping me get through the time. I was having an affair with a married woman who I'd always had a hots for, and I was like, now I'm doing God's work, man. Giving her what she really needs that she's not getting in her marriage, giving her service. And I decided I wanted to see if I could still roll a joint. Right. Stupid. And after I rolled that joint, I handed it off. And I went out on the balcony and I called my sponsor. And I was like, hey, guess what I just did? As a sponsor, I will tell you, I don't love conversations that start that way. Because it's like, oh, you did the thing that you should have called me before you did? Yeah. Tell me more. Can't wait to see where this is going. But recovery kicked in the nick of time. Because in my head, I walked into my first meeting in 87 rehearsing my relapse speech. I was prepared for this to not work out. And then again, fast forward 2004, my mom's dead, and I'm playing the tape through, and I'm like, I'm going to go back to Seattle, and they're going to be like, oh, you used? Well, it's understandable. Your mom died. I was already making it okay. in my head. And so I didn't use kept my clean date, and I got through that process. And in the process of my mom dying, I kind of just went a little crazy, and I moved to Texas. And I was living in Houston, and I found Narcotics Anonymous like I'd never experienced it before. People who were in love with the traditions, in love with recovery, in love with the literature. And I built a circle of friends that sustains me. So, I mean, the fact that none of them are here, but they're here, right? And I got to travel in Spain with 3 of them last month. I went to 3 meetings. I didn't understand a word, but I understood the language of recovery. And they say something that's really cool. Like their version of Just for Today is Gracias para 24, which means thank you for the 24. It's like gratitude and Just for Today all in one. Thanks for the 24. I love it, man. And so I started a business. It's terrifying. It's exciting. I get to play whatever fucking music I want to play. And I live a life of ridiculous adventure. I am happier than I deserve to be, 100%. I heard grace defined as when God gives you what you don't deserve. And then I heard mercy defined as when God doesn't give you what you do deserve. And that schooled me, man, because, I used to lead like a workshop at a halfway house, and the only thing separating me from those guys was that I didn't get caught. That's the only difference. And so, Narcotics Anonymous gives us those eyes where we can see the truth of another human being, and we can see that we're all. Ram Dass, a dude from the 70s, said, "We are all just walking each other home." I love that. We don't know where home is. We don't know what home is, right? That's a big mystery still. And we're just walking each other there. So thank you. Thank you for walking me home. Thank you for saving me a seat. And thank you for my life. I love you guys.